Hello everyone! In this video I'm going to be ruining the Disney Princess coloring book that I ruined in the previous video in which I did that same exact thing. But obviously this time I'm going to be doing different pictures from it. This video I didn't have a whole lot of time, but I explain more of that and reasons why and such at the end. But I am really proud of the work that I accomplished in this, so I hope you guys enjoy the video. In this round of ruining a coloring book, I wasn't feeling as much inspiration or creativity, so I just flipped through and tried to find anything that might spark a hint of an idea. Eventually, I decided on this picture of Belle. For this video, I decided not to color directly in the book to avoid color alteration and bleeding through the pages, so I decided that I would try and trace the image onto regular drawing paper instead. But once I traced it with Sharpie to give it its official outline, I decided that I hated that idea. So instead I traced it onto my iPad like I just should have done from the beginning. And then it was finally time to start adding some color. I decided that I wanted to take things up a notch with the creativity this round, so I decided not to go with the traditional colors for the outfits. Like I said, I wasn't really feeling very creative, so it was hard for me to come up with a really original idea, so for this I went with something basic. I'm gonna turn Belle into a witch reading a spell book. I was going back and forth between color ideas because I wanted this to have somewhat of an old-timey witch vibe since Beauty and the Beast was supposed to take place in the 1700s, which for the most part is long past all of the witch hysteria, but I still wanted to go with that era of clothing. I know that a lot of it is still more modern than that, but I just wanted it to at least have a hint of old-timey witchiness. I didn't want to give her her original hair color either, so I went with a more reddish brown. It's not too big of a difference, but it's still kind of different. And I also gave her a streak of black hair in her bangs. I thought it would look cool and it would have something to coordinate with her dress. I also gave her a purple bow in her hair as well as around her apron. That was kind of bold considering that purple wasn't a very common color among clothes back then, but I thought it would look nice and give it a little pop. I had a lot of trouble finding a skin color too. For a very brief moment, I wanted to go with green to be your stereotypical witch, but I decided I did not like that very quickly, so I just went with a more natural skin tone. I also gave her some really pretty dark green eyes. As someone with green eyes, I can honestly say that I feel like we don't get enough credit, those of us with green eyes. The blue-eyed people have had their spotlight, the brown-eyed people are currently in the spotlight, our time will come. While I do love and I am very proud of my green eyes, if I could choose any eye color for myself, I would probably go with purple. It's a weird question, but let me know in the comments if you could change your eye color, what would you choose? Now I'm just coloring in the cushions behind and underneath her. These were pretty awkward, I had no idea what colors to make them, so I just kind of chose randomly. Then I colored in the rug this dark purple. I wanted to go with as many dark colors as I possibly could because I was starting to get a vision of what I wanted this to look like, and it involved a lot of dark colors. When I was finally done coloring in the original image of Belle and the various objects, I could start on the more fun part of the process. I made the background this really nice creepy dark gray, and that filled in her eyes, which made her look kind of weird, so I just changed those back to normal. And then I started to draw on her witch hat. This part got me super excited because I was finally beginning the more creative part of it all, and it was the beginning of bringing my image to life. Once I was done adding on the hat, I moved on to her eyebrows, and by moved on to her eyebrows, I mean I completely eliminated them. She wasn't looking mean enough, and I wanted her to look really mean and evil and nasty, and one of the biggest things to express that on a face is the eyebrows. I was having trouble with that, so I tried and pulled up this reference picture of a Barbie girl avatar with what they call the mean eyebrows, but that still just wasn't doing it for me. So I decided to take a break from it and go on to another detail, the fingernails. As you can see, I am making them pointy and black. Also, I was having a lot of technical difficulties with the color fill feature. The threshold kept needing adjustment, so that was a little frustrating, but oh well. I also found numerous times these random lines that would just go through the entire picture, so I had to be patient and cover those up with the color of whatever it was they were going over, and that was also very aggravating. After that, I decided to readdress the eyebrows and go to my boyfriend for advice since he is practically the god of drawing. And he showed me that this shape for the eyebrows would probably work for what I was going for, and he was absolutely right, so shout out to him for once again saving the day. Next, I colored in the book she was reading because I thought I was ready to move on to the smaller details, but then I decided that the background was missing texture, so I went ahead and added that. I also thought the room was looking a little empty, so I decided to give Belle a little friend in the upper corner. I thought that was a nice touch because, like I said, the room was starting to look empty and boring. Anyway, after that, I just added some color to the books. I couldn't quite get a nice whitish yellow color for the pages to make them look old and yellowed, so I just used the closest thing to that I could find. I also decided to give her a choker since most witches have a type of amulet around their neck usually. I also just thought she was looking a little bare and plain, so I thought it would be a nice addition. I originally wanted to make the gem more of an octagon shape, but that wasn't working out for me, so I just settled on a teardrop shape instead. I realized that her eyes still weren't looking mean enough, so I also decided to erase some of the bottoms of them just to make it look like she's squinting kind of in a mean way. I started to add in some of my own details, and the first thing I wanted to do was to give her a drink. I originally tried to make it look like a potion bottle, but that was a big struggle for me, so then I tried to make it look like a soda bottle, which was also a challenge, but eventually I did get there. Once I added in the colors and I neatened up the lines, you could really tell what it was supposed to be, so it all came together pretty nicely. Since she had a drink, I figured I might as well also give her a little snack. I drew what was supposed to look like a chip bag. Hopefully this is what chip bags look like, because apparently I just have so much trouble identifying shapes. And then I filled it in with a gross yellow-looking color. I was finally ready to start adding on some text details for the books and the snacks and everything, so I started to do that. Unfortunately, because of the angle of the cover of the book she's currently reading, I couldn't give that one a title, so I just gave the two beneath her titles. I was trying to use my text tool to give the black book a title, but I ended up handwriting that later on because I thought it looked better, and it just worked better with the awkward angle it was at since it was beneath another book. We have Bats, Cats, Rats, and Other Familiars, and 101 Ways to Cook Children. Very popular books among witches, I'd highly recommend them. Not that I'd know. After the books, I went on and gave her snacks some more details. I did change the color of her drink because what I had in mind for it was not the right color that it currently was, because it is a big bottle of child tears. And for her snack in the little chip bag, I went with fried rat tails. Organic fried rat tails. Now, as fun as all of these details were and how much the picture was coming along, I thought the room was still looking pretty empty and bare, so I decided to add in another very important detail. Every witch needs her broom. How could I forget that? Now, brooms aren't something that I draw very often. I can't think of a reason why they would be for anybody, but no judgments here. So this did take me a few tries. I found out that it was easier if I didn't draw attached to the stick and I just moved it onto it later. It was kind of annoying though because I wanted to do it on its own layer because I thought that would make touch-ups easier. But that meant that I would have to erase it around other objects so that way it looked like it was behind things and not overlapping them. I made the ribbon around the straw red to match her shoes. When my boyfriend saw it, he went, "Really? You gave her red shoes?" And I said, "What's wrong with that?" And he said, "Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz." And I honestly wasn't even thinking of that. I wanted her shoes to be a maroon, but because her shoes were so close to the dark brown wooden chair, I thought that it made the maroon look more brown than maroon, so I just went with a lighter red. And then he totally saw what I was talking about, so he agreed with the red. After the broom was done, the whole drawing was finally complete. It's crazy to think that it went from this to this. I love this so much and I'm really proud of it, and it doesn't even look like the original picture, and I'm just so happy with how it turned out. Our next victim will be Ariel and Flounder. Like last time, I just traced the picture onto my iPad and I began coloring. As I said in the beginning, I wanted to avoid the traditional colors as much as possible, so I tried to give everything in this darker hues and shades. Also, you may notice that I didn't give Flounder his mouth that he had in the original picture. I did that because the expression I was going to give him was completely different than what was in the picture. So I thought that would just make it a little easier when the time came. For a second, I forgot that my objective was to ruin the picture, or change it at least, and not to color it in, so I got carried away and colored in her mouth, and then I remembered what my objective was, so I had to undo everything that I just colored. I also just completely erased all of the inner details with her mouth. I decided to trade in her perfect smile for some nice sharp and jagged teeth instead. I also erased her nice eyebrows and traded them for some evil ones. Next, I thought it would look cool if I colored in her irises this dark yellowish brown color. I then gave them some highlights and decided to change the color of the tail because it was too light and happy. I also made her lips a much darker blackish purple, as well as her shell bra. Next, I gave her some jaggedy, dark algae green fingernails. I was trying to steer as far away from perfect little innocent Ariel as I possibly could. My boyfriend also suggested that I shrink one of her pupils to make her really look crazy and evil, and I think that was a really good idea, so thank you again to him. I didn't know how to make the briefcase look more exciting, so it's just just a regular, boring old briefcase, and now I'm just adding colors to Flounder. Next, I'm giving him his new facial expression, which is supposed to look like he's screaming. I kind of struggled with the mouth shape as well as the inner details like his tongue and everything. I swear it's always the most absurd details that give me the most trouble. I finally did get it to a place that I liked, and then I added in a background color, which was a very, very dark blue, just to really make it look like they were in the depths of the ocean. I also added in some seaweed for more detail because the background was getting pretty boring. I forgot to color in her teeth in the beginning, so the background color filled those, so I had to fix that. Thankfully, it wasn't too difficult. She was still looking too much like a human for me, so I decided to give her some scales. I was going to draw them all individually, but then I found this brush texture that I thought looked way better and had a much cooler effect. So I added this on to her skin and her tail, and it was coming along. With the help of my boyfriend, I also gave her a fish person ear. I don't know why, but this was probably the hardest part for me. I just struggled with the shape so badly. But in the end, it did pay off because this was a really nice touch. Now it's finally time to see what Flounder is so upset by in the briefcase. At first I thought it would be funny to have Ariel showing him her fishing gear and her gutting tools and stuff, but then I had an even better idea. I thought it would be funny to have her showing him her dead fish skeleton collection. I tried my best to give the skeletons a variety, but they all look so similar, so it's kinda hard to mix it up. I did have to use reference pictures for this because I don't have the skeleton of a fish memorized, so I just went online and tried to find a variety of fish skeletons. After that, I added in some background details, just some ocean plants and some sand, because I thought the background was looking a little plain. Here's the before and here's the after. I think this one is also a really cool transformation. There aren't as many big differences between it and the original picture, but the differences that are there definitely change the vibe of the whole thing. Also, in case there was any confusion, it's supposed to look like she's pointing to the empty space in the briefcase, telling Flounder that he's gonna be her newest piece to her collection. I think doing it on my iPad made a huge difference too. I had a lot more possibilities and options, and I wasn't as limited with what I could do, so I think I'm gonna do these on my iPad from now on. Unfortunately, I only had time to make 2 for this video. I've been working a lot this week, and I will also be working a lot next week as well, so that limits how much time I get to spend on making videos, sadly. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you liked the video, and leave me suggestions for what I should do in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!